The morning show on WRCO FM 100.9 and WRCO.com, featuring real community conversations that matter to our community. The WRCO Morning Show studio is proudly sponsored by Richland Hospital, caring for the health of our community. Scott Industries, enjoy building strong futures. Osborne Stump Removal, clearing the way for what's next. And Sean's Auto Repair, keeping you on the road with service you can trust.
And now, the Year in Review from WRCO-FM with News Director Joanne Krulatz. The Year in Review is a look back at the headlines and stories that made the news from WRCO-FM in 2025. Year in Review is brought to you by Cardinal Glass CG, Rockwell Automation, Harris Professional Painting, Jones Chevrolet, Walsh's Ace, Napa Auto and Truck Parts, TKO Barbecue, Pratt Funeral and Cremation Service, Sunshine and Giggles, Creative Outlet, Larson Collision and Paint, Computer Doctors, Kickapoo Creekside, Kickapoo Quick Stop, Galaxy Skate Center, Christie's Sunnyside Bakery and Cafe, and by Benson Insurance. And now, the Year in Review on WRCO-FM with News Director Joanne Krulatz.
In January, a man was taken into custody accused of attempted homicide after a shooting earlier in the week. In a release, Toma police said that a 46-year-old man was arrested in Sauk County. Police found an 80-year-old man with multiple gunshot wounds. The man was taken to a hospital with life-threatening injuries. Police then found the alleged shooter's children safe in Juneau County. The 46-year-old man was arrested. He was being recommended for multiple charges, including attempted homicide. A new era began in Richland County. After many years, Richland County Register of Deeds Sue Triggs retired. Triggs saw many changes over the past 46 years with the county. Triggs said she never thought that she would win election after election to serve 30 years. In November, Richland County residents elected Deb McCoy to serve as the county's Register of Deeds. The Richland Hospital and Clinic saw its first baby of 2025 come into the world on January 2nd. Baby Harley weighed a healthy 5 pounds, 14 ounces and measured 19 inches. Parents Tiana and Nathan received a gift basket valued at more than $550 with donations from local businesses. Richland County Administrator Candace Pesch attended her final Board of Supervisors meeting. Among the items confirmed at the meeting was to fill her position. At the county's request, County Clerk Derek Kalish was asked to serve as the interim administrator. The board approved Kalish to assume the interim position and terminating when a permanent administrator is appointed. For the interim, the board also appointed an assistant administrator. County Highway Commissioner Josh Elder was appointed to fill the position. The board then approved to enter into a contract with Public Administration Associates, LLC, in an amount not to exceed $22,750 for services provided in recruiting to fill the county administrator vacancy. There would not need to be a primary election for seats on the Richland Center City Council or any of the local school boards. There was also no need for a primary for Boscobel City Council. While there were to be no primaries, people could still write in candidates in April. There would, however, be a primary statewide for the state school superintendent in February. 3 candidates were vying to become Wisconsin's top official overseeing public schools. They were incumbent Jill Underly, education consultant Brittany Kinzer, and Sauk Prairie Superintendent Jeff Wright. Virgil Thu was arrested 10 days after the bodies of 33-year-old Elizabeth Kolba and 2 girls ages 12 and 13 were found by New Lisbon police in a home there. According to a press release from the New Lisbon Police Department, the Juneau County Communications Center received a report of a suspicious individual in Elroy. A deputy dispatched to the location identified Thu and arrested him without incident. Thu was charged with 8 felony counts, which include 3 counts of first-degree intentional homicide, with 1 count modified to include domestic abuse, 3 counts of hiding a corpse, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and taking and driving a vehicle without owner's consent. He was also charged with misdemeanor resisting or obstructing an officer. Cash bond was set at $5 million. The Richland School Board of Education voted to move forward with an operational and capital improvement referendum following a community survey performed by the Morris Leatherman Company was held in December. In February, the Richland Center City Council approved a request from the Richland Center High School Youth for Change and the Partners for Prevention Coalition to develop a model ordinance to support tobacco-free parks. The council voted unanimously to direct the city attorney to work on a model ordinance for tobacco-free parks in the city of Richland Center. The council also voted against renaming the city landfill, keeping the name Richland Center Landfill intact. City Utilities was honored by American Public Power Association during Smart Energy Provider Week, which highlights how those with the designation make their communities better through energy efficiency, sustainability, and other programs. The Smart Energy Provider Program recognizes public power utilities for a commitment to smart energy programming. APPA represents all the public utilities throughout the country. There are only 111 nationwide SCP designees out of the more than 2,000 public utilities spanning the United States. This designation lasts 3 years. Utilities with this designation are nationally recognized for making the effort to incorporate sustainability and efficiency while maintaining affordability. The process evaluates their work against best industry practices, providing a litmus test for current work and guiding criteria for potential improvement. The Richland Center Fire Department was called out to a fire on Hornet Hive Drive. The concession stand near the Avitus Rip football field was on fire. Fire units were able to contain the fire to mainly the roof and attic area of the west end of the building. There was major damage to the structure. 5 units and 26 firefighters were on scene for 2.5 hours. Also assisting were the Richland County Sheriff's Department, Richland Center Police Department, Richland EMS, and Richland Electric Cooperative. No injuries were reported. Richland County was dealing with what to do with the empty college campus. The County Board of Supervisors developed a campus reconfiguration committee to research possibilities. A firm was brought in to evaluate the state of all the buildings, and unfortunately, the news was not good. The state passed legislation to award $2 million to close campuses, but unfortunately, that is just a drop in the bucket for what Richland County needs to make the buildings viable again. Assembly Representative Tony Kurtz was one of the authors of the bill to reimburse closed campuses. He took a tour of the UW-Platteville Richland campus with County Board Chair Dave Turk.
UW left a mess out there, to be very honest with folks, and so I'm actually going to have a meeting with UW System President Mr. Rothman concerning that, because it's entirely unacceptable, the mess they left out at that campus. And I am being very kind with my words right now, because when I got done touring the facility, I was actually pretty livid, because it's like, when COVID hit on, 17th of March of 2000, everything basically shut down. Mm-hmm. It kind of looked like one day they were working and the next day they just literally walked out. And it's like you could go back and start teaching a class there right now. And it's just very disappointing the way UW System left that facility right now.
Richland County Board Chair David Turk reported that the county can't keep hanging on to property that is costing the county $10,000 to $12,000 a month to take care of unusable buildings on the UW campus. They will continue to follow up on ideas. Corporate Counsel Michael Windle reported that while the idea of making it a government center had been suggested by residents, which would include a jail, the city ordinance at this time would not allow a jail on the campus property. The ordinance would have to be changed. Residents in the town of Buena Vista had a local primary election for 2 town supervisor spots. 5 candidates were vying for the 2 spots, with the top 4 vote getters moving on to the general election. Names as they appeared on the ballot were Jake Kleckner, Zachary Tomei, Ronald Morris, Gordon Brockway, and Jeremiah Robert Ringelstetter. The results show Gordon Brockway led in voting with 81 and Jake Kleckner with 70. Jeremiah Robert Ringelstetter received 65 votes, and Zachary Tomei and Ronald Morris each received 61. As a result of the 4th place tie, a coin toss would be held to determine who moved on between Zachary Tomei and Ronald Morris to run in April. March was Colon Cancer Awareness Month. Colon cancer is one of the top 3 types of cancer in the world. It is diagnosed in 150,000 people a year, with 1 in 20 diagnosed with colon cancer dying from the disease. March is a time to shine a light on the importance of early detection and lifestyle choices in the fight against this prevalent disease. Screenings can decrease your chances of dying from the disease by 90%. According to the American Cancer Society, anyone can develop colon cancer, but certain factors can increase the risk. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the United States. At the Capitol, new Republican-authored legislation aimed to reform pharmacy benefit managers. Dodgeville Representative Todd Novak authored the Cole Act alongside Senate President Mary Felskowski. The Cole Act is named after Cole Schmitnick, who died from an asthma attack in January 2024 after he couldn't afford his inhaler when the out-of-pocket price increased suddenly. Representative Todd Novak and Senate President Mary Felskowski say the legislation will lower drug costs, increase transparency, and increase pharmacy access and safety. The Riverdale Agricultural Education Department was awarded the Outstanding Middle Secondary Agricultural Education Program in Section 4. Callie Coe is the agriculture teacher and FFA advisor for Riverdale schools.
In the Wisconsin Association of Agricultural Educators, amongst our 30 school districts in what we call our section, we were nominated as the top middle and secondary agriculture program by other ag teachers, and we were voted on. So we're one of the top ag programs in the state of Wisconsin, top 10.
School agricultural programs are divided into 3 main areas: FFA, classroom, and supervised agriculture experience. Riverdale's FFA highlights include owning and operating a 150-acre school farm that is planted, harvested, and managed by the FFA, hosting several major community and elementary-oriented events that total over 1,000 visitors and participants each year, and having 13 students earn state FFA degrees in the last 3 years.
We partnered with 28 different people for our test plot and our school farm stuff last year. I had 32 different guest speakers last year between demonstrations and guest speakers. A lot of those came with animal lab stuff. If somebody brought in a donkey, I'd have them stick around and we'd talk about this or that, or I'd have a farrier come in separately. So egg program-wise, and then we went on almost 30 field trips last year too, between the school farm, and I got my CDL a couple years ago. So it's Magic School Bus, we hop on and head somewhere.
The Riverdale Agricultural Education Department offers many opportunities for students throughout the district. As one of the top 10 programs in the state, the Riverdale Agricultural Education Department is running for the #1 agriculture program in Wisconsin. The winner would be revealed at the Wisconsin Agricultural Education Conference in June. Election Day in Wisconsin was April 1st. Local races included 2 races in the town of Bloom for town board supervisor and treasurer. There were 3 races in Buena Vista Township. Residents would choose 2 board supervisors, a town clerk, and town treasurer. There were 2 races in the town of Dayton for town board chairperson and to fill 2 supervisor positions. Voters in the village of Muscoda saw 2 races on their ballot, one for village president and the other to fill 3 trustee positions. The River Valley School District had a race for its seat representing Area 6. There were also a number of school referendums. They included 4 operational referendums in the River Valley, Riverdale, Weston, and Viroqua school districts, and a capital referendum in the Baraboo School District. A Richland Center native was chosen to be the next Chief Justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Ann Walsh Bradley grew up in Richland Center and graduated from Richland Center High School in 1968. She was first elected to the Supreme Court in 1995 and would be retiring at the end of July. Although Walsh Bradley would be retiring, she was selected to serve in the position of Chief Justice from May 1st to June 30th. Senators Brad Pfaff and Sarah Kieski, along with Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, held a roundtable in Richland Center. The purpose of the roundtable was to hear from the community and business leaders on the effects of local impacts caused by federal cuts and actions. Those attending were representatives from the Richland Hospital and Clinics, CEO Bruce Reisler and Vice President of Professional Services Deanna Kaspers, to talk about Medicaid cuts. From the Kickapoo School District, middle and high school principal Aaron Mitham to discuss education funding. The executive director of Feeding Wisconsin, Jackie Anderson, to discuss the impacts of the cuts to federal funding on her organizations and food pantries across the state. From the Aging and Disability Resource Center, Gina Lack, Ingrid Hansen, Roxanne Klubertans-Gerber, and Nicole Baumeister to discuss the impact that potential Medicaid cuts would have on their organization and people they serve. Representatives from Southwest Community Action Program, Executive Director Brett White, Senior Director Courtney Messer, HR Director Marisol Contreras, and Senior Director Chris Frakes to discuss the impact of federal cuts on Head Start, as well as other programs that affect their organization. Sally Leong, a member of the Wisconsin Farmers Union and owner of 3 Fawn Meadows Farm, she discussed the effects tariffs are having on Wisconsin farmers. TJ Samanchian, owner of Wonder State Coffee, to discuss the effect that tariffs or other federal issues have on small businesses. Senator Brad Pfaff said that it was a very good listening session.
I think hearing directly from Southwest Community Action Program speaking about the importance of the Head Start program is it's important that we all recognize that we want our children to get a good head start, and especially early childhood education is so very important. So I really appreciated hearing those comments, but I also appreciated hearing the comments that were shared by the Aging, Disability, and Resource Center team. And when they talk about the concern and outright fear that some of our elderly members in our communities are experiencing right now because they continue to hear about potential cuts to Medicaid as well as to Social Security.
Roxanne Klubertans-Gerber stated that 42% of their revenue for the ADRC comes from federal funding. In May, the UW-Richland Alumni Association was hosting Homecoming 2025 at the Richland Center Community Center to bring together family and friends of all ages. The Alumni Association was excited to continue the tradition, even though it wasn't in the Roadrunner Gymnasium. The Alumni Association was able to salvage trophies, banners, uniforms, plaques, and other UW-Richland sports memorabilia. Those interested in claiming any of the items were encouraged to attend. The Richland Center City Council appointed Doug Martinick as alderperson for District 3 following the resignation of Kevin Melby. The Richland School District Board of Education elected Jill Sharp to fill the vacant District 4 at-large seat. Sharp is a class special education program coordinator and instructor for CESA 2. The seat was vacated by the resignation of board member Robin Dickman. Dickman resigned to seek employment with the school district. By law, a district employee cannot serve on the school board. The board approved the hiring of Robin Dickman as an alternative education teacher for the 2025-26 school year. Not guilty was the verdict handed down in Richland County Circuit Court for David Harp, 63 of Baraboo. Harp was charged with second-degree reckless homicide in the death of Corby Neef, 54 of Partyville. Judge Lisa McDougall, in giving instruction to the jurors, pointed out the lack of the state's evidence due to clothing not being tested or preserved properly. She stated, quote, "The state failed to preserve evidence," end quote. The defense requested evidence in June of 2023 and again in July of 2024. As of April 2025, the defense had still not received the evidence in the case. The court ordered Richland County to turn evidence over by April 21st, 2025. The defense team did not receive the evidence until May 1st, and the trial began May 12th. Richland County District Attorney Jennifer Harper pointed out accessibility to the gun. She pointed out that David Harp said that the gun was unholstered and loaded in the console of his truck, but a holster was found in the door of the truck. Defense attorney Jessa Nicholson stated that the case should have been thrown out following testimony by the Richland County Sheriff's Department. She brought up the fact of the lack of reliable evidence. Although there were no usable fingerprints on the murder weapon, the trigger was never tested for prints. Also, while Marcia Neef's clothing was collected, it was never tested for any type of evidence. The console where the gun was kept was also not tested for prints or DNA. And although it was reported that all three were drinking heavily, no blood alcohol test was given. The annual Walk with Grace kickoff was held at the Richland Center Community Center. The Walk with Grace kickoff includes a free will offering pancake supper. Teams can also register and pick up packets, calendar, and car raffle tickets, luminaries, and pick out their team site. A program explaining the team packets was also held. The 4 ambassadors for the 2025 Walk with Grace were also introduced. The Wisconsin Department of Justice announced that Wisconsin ranked number 1 throughout the country for the most prescription medications collected during the spring 2025 drug take-back collection in April, with Wisconsin collecting 56,818 pounds of unwanted medications. The Richland Center Police Department reported 24 pounds of medication collected during the 4-hour event in April. Additional collections from the Center Pharmacy, the Richland Center Municipal Building, and the Richland County Sheriff's Department resulted in the greater Richland area collecting and contributing a total of 265.6 pounds of unused medications for destruction. The Richland County Board of Supervisors filled vacant seat for District 3. 2 residents of District 3 submitted a letter of interest. One was Randy Schoonover. The second was former Supervisor Lee Van Landite. The members of the county board then took a ballot vote, with Randy Schoonover being selected in an 11-8 vote. It was also noted that the seat representing District 11 was vacant following the resignation of Michelle Harwick. In June, it was a record year for the Richland County Dairy Breakfast. Organizer Annette Lewis checked in.
The numbers of people that came was unreal. We had 4 griddles going all the time, and we couldn't keep up with the line. At the end of the day, we served 5,125 people, give or take.
The rain didn't dampen the spirits of those attending. The work to eradicate cancer is nationally funded due to the efforts of many established organizations operating on a worldwide scale. But in Richland County, support comes from a local source, one with over 20 years dedicated to making a difference. Greater Richland Area Cancer Elimination, or GRACE. GRACE was started in 2003 as a way to keep the money raised where it matters most. 58% directly helps eligible applicants with food, gas, utilities, and more. 25% is given to UW Carbone Cancer Center and Gunderson Health for cancer research. 10% supports the medical communities within the GRACE service area. 5% is used for cancer prevention events and education, and just 2% is used to cover operating costs. GRACE has raised more than $4 million since its inception. GRACE's commitment to rural medicine was felt by the Richland Hospital and Clinics when the hospital's foundation accepted a $40,251 gift to fund a gastroscope, a tool used in the early detection of certain types of cancer. This critical access hospital employs around 420 people and operates from its main location in Richland Center with additional clinics in Muscadet and Spring Green. The Richland Hospital and Clinics gives patients access to colonoscopies along with other cancer screenings, with procedures usually scheduled within a few weeks of referral. The Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction announced 98 schools statewide earned Wisconsin Schools of Recognition honors for the 2023-24 school year. Among them were the Richland Center Intermediate School and Riverdale Elementary and Junior High Schools. Richland Center has never been forgotten by Chief Justice Ann Walsh Bradley, as she was honored at a celebration to honor her 30 years of service on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. She talked of her road to the Capitol and how it had its beginning in Richland Center.
I say today to all of you gathered here, it has indeed been a long journey from the old Swamp Inn to serving as Chief Justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court.
The old Swamp Inn was affectionately brought up by Justice Bradley and others. Many today know the old Swamp Inn as Turbo's in Hub City. Originally from Richland Center, Chief Justice Ann Walsh Bradley graduated from Richland Center High School in 1968. She earned her bachelor's degree from Webster's University in 1972 and worked as a high school teacher before graduating from the University of Wisconsin Law School in 1976. In 1985, she was appointed as a circuit court judge in Marathon County. 10 years later, the justice made history by becoming the first woman to be elected to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. While it has been a long journey, she stated one thing has remained constant.
But some things remain a constant truth. We knew then 30 years ago, and we know now, that to ensure a just legal system, one that reflects the history and hopes of this state, we must make the courts more accessible to the people. No matter if you are rich or poor, powerful or powerless, no matter your station in life, regardless of your political or religious beliefs, our courts exist to serve all of the people of this state.
Chief Justice Ann Walsh Bradley's tenure is the fifth longest in the court's 177-year history. While sharing the stats of her endeavors on the court that were told to her, Ann Walsh Bradley participated in more than 28,000 cases, 2,375 oral arguments, and the authorship of nearly 600 written opinions. However, she stated that her concern was always the citizens of Wisconsin.